So I think we can start. Yeah. So we can start the class, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-njana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Ukam Karoti Vachram Pangam Payate Giri Yat Kripadam Ham Vande Sri Gurun Dinataranam Paramananda Bhavam Pite Kadanchana Smrite Yasmin Vishkaram Srikaram Bhavet Vismrite Viparitam Shatri Chaitanya Hare Krishna. So welcome all the devotees to our Bhakti Shastri class. So today we still in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Just to remind all of us what we have discussed in the previous class, last week. So we studied the chapter 7, where Krishna says that hearing from him is very, very important. Yeah. Krishna emphasized that word, Tatrino. Srila Prabhupada in his purport explaining how important it is to hear. Hearing is actually the foundation, the basis of our spiritual activities. That's why Prahlad Maharaj, when he mentioned the Navavida Bhakti, he started by Sravana, yeah, hearing. So Krishna says that by hearing, actually, Maya Asakta Manapati, is to attach your mind to me. Then Yoga Yujan Madasaya, and just surrender to me in yoga. So Krishna is go on explaining about his energies. Yeah. So knowledge about him means knowledge about Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti. Superior energy and inferior energy. Yeah. And then Krishna explained also, since we are here in the material world, so we are actually affected by the three modes of material nature, in which actually that is part of this Bahiranga Shakti, the Apara Prakriti, the lower energy, the external energy of the Lord. And then that energy is very difficult to overcome. Yeah. That's how we stop our discussion last week. Krishna mentioned that actually this energy, although it is the external energy of the Lord, still Krishna's energy is so potent that actually we cannot conquer Krishna's energy. Yeah. Only through surrender to him, we can surrender to him. Mama Maya Duradaya. So the word Duradaya means like very difficult. Mam evaye prapadyante. But if you just surrender to me, Krishna, prapadyante, maya metantarante. Many devotees, devotee preachers would give example like if we have a friend and our friend has a very ferocious dog. Sometimes people, put the sign in their gate like beware of the dog. So I have, for example, we have a friend. He has a very ferocious dog. So when we come to his house or her house, for example, this dog would attack anybody who would come. Whoever comes, that dog will attack. But because we have good connection, good relationship with the owner of the dog, with the master of the dog, as soon as the dog barking, so our friend the master of the dog, who's the master of the dog, would immediately check the dog, stopping the dog from barking, from attacking. But if a thief or unknown person to the master of the dog just entering the gate, so the master of the dog may think that, oh, he's a unknown person, he's a thief, so let the dog attack. So Maya, or the external energy of the Lord, is just like this dog. So if we have good connection with Krishna, Krishna will protect us. Krishna will control his energy, not letting his energy to make us into more illusion in the material world. Yeah. So on that point, we shall continue our discussion. Now, Krishna will explain there are four types of people who surrender and who don't surrender. The Duskriti and Sukriti. Duskriti means those who don't surrender, and Sukriti means those who are pious, those who surrender to Krishna. And then later on, Krishna will explain also about the demigod worshippers versus impersonalists. Yeah, because those who are worshipping demigods actually they have this sense of surrendering to God or superior being, but they don't really know like who is the supreme. Therefore, Krishna will explain that actually their surrender is misplaced. They want to surrender to God, they want to worship God because they just have no complete idea about who is the supreme personality of Godhead. Therefore, they worship demigod. Or another reason could be because they want some material gain in order to get it very quickly, because demigods are very easy to please. Yeah. But of course, Krishna will explain later. But what about the result of demigod worship? It is very limited and temporary. Yeah, very limited and temporary. But demigods very easily to be pleased. Therefore, many people surrender to demigods just for material gain. And ultimately, of course, Krishna will explain later about the Mayavadi, how they are actually considered to be abudhaya or less intelligent. Abudhaya means less intelligent. And being delusioned by the material energy. So Krishna will give us solution how to get out from this intricacy. And that is through substitution. So that is the synopsis of this chapter. Yeah, we will see. Yeah. So here from text number 15 to 19, the topic would be four kinds of impious persons who do not surrender to Krishna and four kinds of pious persons who do. And then 20 to 25, demigod worshippers and impersonalists whose surrender is misplaced. And then the last part of this chapter, from text 26 to 30, bewilderment of the living entity and knowledge of Krishna. So here, the first part of the discussion of this chapter today, text 15, describes four types of unqualified persons who do not surrender to Krishna and who sometimes pose themselves as leaders simply for material gain. And 16 to 19 describe four types of persons who surrender to Krishna and how the wise man is the best because he does not desire some gain. So amongst the four types of people, Atu Jigyasu Arti Gyani. So Gyani is considered to be the best amongst all. So here's the classic verse, I would say. Classic verse meaning that Srila Prabhupada or many preachers in our movement, they quote this verse many times. So this is a classic verse, means well-known verse. Yeah. Namam Duskritino Mudha Prapadyante Naradamaha Mayaya Pahrita Jnana Ashuram Avam Astita. Translation: those miscreants who are grossly foolish, yeah, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Srila Prabhupada explained, the atheistic plan makers are described herein by the word Viskritinaha or miscreant. So Viskritina means those who don't surrender to Krishna. Miscreant. The atheist plan maker is sometimes very intelligent and meritorious also, because any gigantic plan, good or bad, must take intelligence to execute. But because the atheist brain is improperly utilized in opposing the plan of the Supreme Lord, the atheistic plan maker is called Vishnurata, which indicates that his intelligence and efforts are misdirected. So Srila Prabhupada is making a very important point here that bad or good plan, you need very high quality of brains. We see the example of Ravana, for example, or even Hiranyakasipu. If we think that their caliber is so high, their intellectual is so high, like Ravana, he's planning to make the stairway from the earth to heaven. So if you want to go to heaven, you just climb the stair. That's it. You don't have to perform pious activities. Nothing. Simply by climbing the stair, you can go to heaven. That was his plan. And Indra was defeated. Ravana was terrifying the three worlds. Yeah. And Hiranyakasipu, who would think, I mean, myself, I would never think like that, like Hiranyakasipu asking such a boon from Brahma. Nobody would think like that other than Hiranyakasipu. Yeah, so as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, that good or bad, great plan, there should be a great brain behind it. Yeah, but the unfortunate thing here is that they use this intelligence not to surrender to Krishna. If we see in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the first part of the Bhagavad Gita, how Duryodhana was so intelligent, so cunning, so diplomatic. He actually putting himself in such a, intricate situation in which actually he should glorify both Bhishma and Drona, but he should not offend Bhishma, Drona, and other warriors also. Yeah. So Duryodhana is very, very intelligent. Sakuni is so cunning, so intelligent, but the unfortunate thing is that they don't use that intelligence to surrender to Krishna. That is actually the missing point here. So therefore Krishna says that Naham Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Name Dhayana Bahuna Sutena. It is mentioned in the Mandukya Upanishad that Krishna says Naham Atma. So this word Atma is very interesting. This word Atma could be the senses, Atma could be the body, Atma could be the soul, and Atma also could be the Lord, because Krishna is also an Atma, but he's the Param Atma, he's the Vibhu Atma. So Krishna mentioned that Naham Atma Pravachanena Labhyo Name Dhayana Bahuna Sutena. The word Bahuna Sutena means very, very intelligent brain. Bahu means millions, Sutena means study. One cannot understand Krishna. One cannot understand Krishna simply by becoming an eloquent speaker, for example. Pravachanena means you can speak in the public so eloquently, so nicely. You can pose yourself as very, very advanced person in knowledge, but that's not the qualification to understand Krishna. Yeah, unless one is surrendered to Krishna. Bhakti Mama Abhijanati, to the extent in the later chapter. So that's the point here. So these are the four types of people. Srila Prabhupada would comment on each of them. So the first one, Prabhupada commenting about the Mudha. The Mudas are those who are grossly foolish, like hard-working beasts of burden. Donkey is the best example, yeah, as. Most often, those who work very hard day and night to clear the burden of self-created beauties. Interestingly, Srila Prabhupada mentioned here self-created beauties. We'll talk about that. Self-created beauties say that they have no time to hear of the immortality of the living being. To such mudas, material gains which are destructible are lives all in all, despite the fact that the mudas enjoy only a very small fraction of the fruit of labor. Srila Prabhupada give the example of donkey anytime. Yeah. How a donkey, once I went to Vrindavan, how actually the washerman used to load the burden. the dirty cloth, on the back of the donkey. Sometimes the donkey doesn't want to move. So what the washerman does is that he hang a carrot on a stick and put in the front of the donkey's face. So now this donkey is chasing this carrot. So he moves. So it's simply like hard working, but how much you can enjoy. How much you can enjoy. People work like 12 hours a day, even more than that. The carnies work like that so hard, but how much you can enjoy. Yeah? Naham deho deha bhajam riloke kastan kaman arhati vid bhujange. Rishabhadev Maharaj in the 5th canto, in the 5th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, explained to his 100 son, Naham deho deha bhajam riloke, means this deha, the human form of life, is not meant for sense gratification. With bhujamye, with bhuja means the sense gratification can be derived even by the stool eater animals. So as human, we should not utilize this body for sense gratification. We think that if we work so hard, we collect so much money, we can enjoy life. But then if you work so hard, your body will get sick, then your earnings will be, spent for your hospital bills. That's it. So it doesn't make sense. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada wants us actually to build a Vaishnava community, farm community, based on Vedic culture, based on Varnashram, where actually everything is produced locally. Prabhupada said this many times. Yeah. And Prabhupada said that you work a little bit and utilize your time in Krishna consciousness, become Hare Krishna. Okay? I mean, like, I'm not blaming the city life. Of course, we are here from different backgrounds. But if we talk about an ideal life, that's what Srila Prabhupada wants. Yeah? To build a farm community, a Vaishnava village based on Christian Guraksha. Yeah? Srila Prabhupada gave the example of the residents of Vrindavan. They never travel outside Vrindavan just for their livelihood. Yeah. Some people like, traveling by local train every day, one way, 3 hours. Here, like from Navadvip to Kolkata, every day people are going like this, 3 hours goes up, 3 hours goes down, like, crazy hours. And how many hours you work in the office? So like this, people are working so hard, but how much they can enjoy. Nidraya hriyate nakam vyavayena chabhavaya nivachante hayaraja kutumba bharanena. That is explained by him. Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Pariksit. How the life of the karmis. Nidraya hriyate nakam means at night they simply sleep or having sexual intercourse. And then during the daytime they work so hard and maintain their family members. So that is the first category of the Diskritina, means the Muda, the foolish, work so hard. And then the second one, Srila Prabhupada explained, another class of Diskriti or miscreant is called the Naradhama, or the lowest of mankind. Yeah. Those who are socially and politically developed, but who have no religious principles, must be considered Nara Adama. The word Nara, Nara means human, Adhama means low, down. Adhama means low, lower. So although we may claim that in the 21st century, people are so advanced in technology, but as Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, if they don't practice religious activities, they consider to be Naradama, although they like well dressed or advanced in knowledge of technology, the so-called modern civilization actually keeping us away from God. Yeah? So Naradama, laws of mankind. The civilized form of human life is meant for man's reviving the last consciousness of his eternal relation with the Supreme Truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who is all powerful, whoever loses his chance is classified as a Naradamaha. Yeah. As that verse mentioning in the fifth canto by Sabbath. Yes, that is the goal of life. Yeah. In the first canto of Bhagavatam was mentioned that Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa na arto yacheha karma bhi. So Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa means this life is meant just for inquiring about the absolute truth. Tattva, Tattva Jigyasa. Atato Brahma Jigyasa mentioned in the Vedanta Sutra. Yeah. That is the purpose of human life. Now artoya cheha karma bhi, and there is no other business. Cheha karma bhi, there is no other activities. I mean, we should work, of course, to maintain the body and soul together, but that is should not be our priority. And especially when we already joined this movement, Krishna consciousness movement, for quite numbers of years. So we have to somehow or other raise our consciousness. Yeah? Raise our consciousness. So that's the second one. And then the third one, the next class of Duskriti is called Mayaya Pahrita Jnana, or those persons whose erudite knowledge has been nullified by the influence of illusory material energy. Yeah. Prabhupada further explained, they are mostly very learned fellows, great philosophers, poets, literati, scientists, etc. But the illusory energy misguides them, and therefore they disobey the Supreme Lord. All the unauthorized interpretations of the Gita by the class of Maya Yapahrita Jnana outside the purview of the Parampara system are so many stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual understanding. Prabhupada would sometimes blame the scientists. He would blame the scientists. Prabhupada said, oh, they can create life. Their philosophy is that life comes from matter. By combination of some, chemical, they can create life. And Prabhupada said they already spent many years, they spend millions of dollars, still they cannot create life. Yeah. Because life comes from life. Without soul, there is no life. Yeah, the body is simply a dead matter. And these scientists like this, they seem to be, very intelligent, but the intelligence is stolen by Maya. So similarly, also those who give the commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita in particular, the Bhagavad Gita, not based on the commentary of the previous Acharya, then they also consider to be Maya Yaparita Jnana. They can play the jugglery words in their commentary, but it's all asar or useless. Yeah. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that why he wrote this Bhagavad Gita as it is, meaning giving the purport again to the Bhagavad Gita and give the name Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada explained this is like 50 plus years ago. He mentioned that now in the world there are over 200 editions of the Bhagavad Gita in different languages, but none of these Bhagavad Gita give direction to the right path, to the right goal. And most of the Bhagavad Gita commentaries, like they are leading us toward the impersonal aspect of understanding. Especially here, here in India, of course, there are many scholars, so-called scholars, who give the interpretation to the Bhagavad Gita, but giving the Mayavadi aspect of philosophy, which is actually misguiding. Well, what to speak of India, even in Indonesia, for example, where I am from. So in Indonesia, there are many also editions of the Bhagavad Gita. And none of these editions is like giving clear explanation. When I compare like Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, I remember I was 12 years old. First time I received Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita when I was 12 years old. Reading the Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita and another Bhagavad Gitas that we have at home, I mean my family have at home, like it's totally different. Srila Prabhupada is using a very simple language in which actually accessible to my brain as a child. I mean, as a boy, 12 years old boy. You know? Because Prabhupada, if we see his commentary, either in the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita, he would always, many times, refers his commentary to the commentary of the Acharyas, like Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur, for example, in Srimad Bhagavatam, we find many times Prabhupada quotes Srila Viswanath Chakravarti Thakur, and sometimes Baladev Vidyabhushan. So like this, Srila Prabhupada is seeing the commentary of the previous acharyas, not using his own. Even Prabhupada mentioned that actually Krishna dictates through me. When Srila Prabhupada would read his book, one of his favorite books is The Nectar of Instruction. So one time Srutakirti Prabhu, his disciple, who happened to be his servant, found that Srila Prabhupada read his book, The Nectar of Instruction. Prabhupada loves this book so much, because this one. And Srutakirti Prabhu asked, Prabhupada, why you read your book? The book is written by yourself. Prabhupada said, well, actually it's not me. Krishna dictates it through me. So yeah. Krishna Sakti Vina Nahi Tara Prabha. Without Krishna Sakti, one cannot reach Krishna consciousness. And it's obvious Prabhupada is the chosen person. So, and regarding the commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, we have to be very careful. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that Mayavada Bhasha Sunile Hoi Sarvanas. We should not hear the commentaries of the Bhagavad Gita given by the Mayavadis, because Hoi Sarvanas, all our devotion will be destroyed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, will be destroyed. So we have to, very paka in choosing, not just, of course, Krishna says, Tatrinu here, but we should hear from the right source. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one. The last class of this kriti is called Ashuram Bhavam Asritaha, or those of demonic principles. Prabhupada explained further. Envious of the Supreme Personality of God. The atheist will present a number of illicit incarnations manufactured in the factory of his brain. And finally, Prabhupada mentioned, therefore, one grossly foolish person, two, the lowest of mankind, three, the deluded speculators, and four, the professed atheists, as above mentioned, never surrender unto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, in spite of all scriptural and authoritative advice. Yeah. So these are the four types of description. And regarding the last one, the Ashura Bhava, means the person who possesses a demonic brain, demoniac brain. So as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, that actually they want to compete with God. They want to be God themselves. I remember when I came for the first time to India, and I came to Mayapur in 2014. So there's one devotee from Italy, he told me how when he came for the first time to India, because he's kind of spiritual seeker. So he went to different places like Himalayas, this and then Badarik Ashram to Varanasi. And then in the beginning, he thought that, he mentioned, India is a factory of gods, because there are so many people claiming to be incarnation of God. This Baba, that Baba, they are claiming to be the incarnation of God. So he thought in the beginning, like, wow, India is kind of factory of God. Many people claiming to be God. So this is Asura Bhava. They want to be God. The reason will be explained by Krishna later. Yeah, Icha Dvesa Samutena Dvandva Mohena. Because of this, Icha means material desire. What does material desire mean? Desire to enjoy separately. And Dvesha means envious. We as living entity envious of Krishna. Why only Krishna is God? Why only Krishna is being served as a master? I also want to be God. I also want to be controller. So there you go. Krishna give us the tiny part of the whole creation to exhibit our envious nature toward him. Because in the spiritual world, we cannot be envious of Krishna. Therefore, we are given this place. Yeah. So when I heard this devotee from Italy, I was like, wow, yeah, maybe like that. Even up to now, I went also to Varanasi in the same year, 2014. Yes, like on the banks of the Ganges River. Like there are so many, so-called yogis. Of course, they are very austere. Like at that time was hot peak of summer. One man was, sitting on the bank of Ganges under the sun and surround himself with a fire. Probably this is common in India, but I was thinking like, why is torturing himself? Why is torturing himself? Anyway, even uh, my father, yeah, my father, he was before he became a devotee, he was the devotee of Sai Baba, this big hair Sai Baba. You know, I was having so much argument with my father. How could you think that this guy is God? First of all, when Krishna or God would incarnate, his appearance is already confirmed in the scriptures. It's already confirmed in the scripture, especially well, we find in Bhagavatam or even in the Bhavishya Purana. Bhavishya Purana is a kind of a scripture which is actually telling about future, all the incarnations of God, where he will appear, what would be his name, how he will look like. Everything is confirmed in the scripture. Srila Prabhupada said, if somebody, this will be an interesting discussion in the 11th chapter. Yeah? Why Krishna is showing his Virat Rupa. Because Arjuna wants to, first of all, Arjuna requests that. Secondly, Arjuna wants to specify the characteristic of God. Prabhupada explained that if somebody in the future would claim to be God, so he has to prove himself by showing this Virat Rupa. In one morning walk, Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that if somebody claims to be God, he cannot prove himself by showing the Virat Rupa, you should beat him with the shoes. Prabhupada said, beat him with the shoes. So these are the four types of Duskritin, those who do not surrender. And now Krishna will explain about the Sukriti. But before that, there's a quote from Srila Prabhupada's class, which I found interesting. Prabhupada mentioned, so we have to face them in these four types of people. Our Krishna consciousness movement is facing these rascals, these Duskritina, these Naradamas, and to request them to become Krishna conscious. This is Krishna consciousness movement. One who is facing dangerous position for others' benefit, they are very quickly recognized by Krishna. So let us dedicate this life for preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world. Never mind we die by preaching, still it will be glorious. And now this is another classic verse, text number 16, explaining about four types of Sukriti, Sukritina, those who are pious. Chaturvidha bhajanti mam jana Sukritino jina artu jigyasu artati gyanicha bharatarisham. O best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distress, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. Prabhupada explained, when these four kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. See, So these four types of people, they are not pure devotees. Yeah? They are in the category of Sakama Bhakta, approaching Krishna with some motivation, Artha means distress, Artha desiring of wealth, uh, Jigyasu, inquisitive, and Jnani means they already completely free from material desire, but they still don't get the clear understanding about the Bhagavan aspect of the Jnani, the wise people. Yeah. So this is the difference between the Sukriti and Duskriti. The Sukritina, or the pious people, when they have some material desires, they don't do some crime. Rather, they will approach higher personality, even up to Krishna. They will approach some demigods, maybe, or even Krishna, because they are pious. So they don't steal or they don't, rob the bank like this if they want some wealth, some money. But they approach Krishna, they approach God, because they are pious. They know the principle. Yeah? Everything is awarded by Krishna or by God or higher authority if they don't know who is really God. So they approach Krishna or some God because they are pious. So they don't do some crime. The Duskritinaha, if they want something, so they will do some crime. So they have to get it either by hook or crook. Yeah? They have to get it. So these four types of people, they are not considered to be pure devotees. Yeah. But as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, doesn't matter whatever motivation you approach Krishna, because of the association with the devotees, you will become pure devotees also. Yeah. You will become pure devotees ultimately. Even the demons, yeah, even the demons, if indirectly, they are approaching Krishna through the devotees. Yeah, they also get the purification simply by getting in touch with the devotees. Yeah, I found it interesting in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Kalya Lila, Kalya Damana Lila, when Krishna defeated Kalya. Why Kalya is not killed by Krishna? Yeah, why Kalya is not killed by Krishna? Well, first of all, Kalya being a snake is still considered to be the family members of Balaram, who is Lord Ananta. But actually, Krishna is so merciful to Kalya that he gives the footprint of Lord Krishna in every of these food. You know? Therefore, it is described there, Kasyanubhavo Shyamadeva Vidmahe Dava Angri Renus Parasadikara Yad Vanchaya Sri Lalana Charat Tapo Vihaya Kamam Suchiram Vritavrata. So, Kasya Anubhavo Shyana Deva Vidmahe Dava Angri Renus. Alas, how it is possible that this demon, this Kalya, gets the mercy, getting the lotus feet of the Lord on his head. Tawa Angri Renu. Tawa Angri Renu means getting your lotus feet on his head. Yad Vanchaya Sri Lalana Charatapo. Even the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, in order to get that privilege to massage Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, she has to perform severe austerities. Vihaya Kamam Suchiram Dritavrata. And this Kalya is very easily obtaining that mercy. How it is possible? So Srila Vishnurata Chakravarti Thakur described there are two things that made Kalya get this special right, special privilege that Lord Krishna put his lotus feet on his head. First, because of Yamuna. Yamuna is a pure devotee of the Lord. So he's taking shelter at the lotus feet of Yamuna because he wants to avoid Garuda. So he's taking shelter of Yamuna, who is a pure devotee of the Lord. Second, because of the Nagapatnis. his wife, Kalia's wives are actually great devotees of Lord Krishna. So he's in constant association with these two types of devotees. One is Yamuna and the other is his wives. Although he is so envious of Krishna, just by simply, being around with devotees, he gets the benefits. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned here in this purport that even the demons, if let's just read again this purport. Yeah. Even some of them, by chance, Prabhupada said by chance, yeah, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotee. So that's how glorious it is. Doesn't matter in whatever motivation you approach Krishna, directly or indirectly, you will always get benefit. So these are the Sakama devotees. So each of these devotees, Prabhupada gave the example. So Gajendra is the example of an artha, one who is in distress. Then a Jigyasu is curious. He inquisitively approaches Krishna to understand the soul or to become self-realized. Sunaka Rishi is an example. So we see actually in the Naimisaranya, there are many sages in Naimisaranya, and most of those sages actually they are karma kandis. They are very pious. They want to perform this 1,000-year sacrifice to counteract the effect of Kali. Yeah. But before that, as usually we have, when we perform yagya, there should be class. So Sudha Goswami was chosen to give the class, and on behalf of all the sages, Sonaka Muni. Actually, Sonaka Muni is called in the Srimad Bhagavatam Sonaka Adi Rishi, means he is the foremost of all the rishis. Of course, Sonaka, he may appear devotee, but many of the sages, they are actually karma kandis. They are expert in performing ritual, but karma kandis. But ultimately, they become pure devotees by the association of Sudha Goswami. So that's the Gyasu. And then Dhruva Maharaj is an example of an Artha Arti, one who desire wealth, who desire the kingdom greater than Brahma. Yeah, Stana Bilasi Tapasi Stito Ham. Dhruva said that Stana Abilasi. Stana means position. Yeah, position. Stana. Stana Abilasi Tapasi Stito Aham. Dhruva said, I perform this tapasya just to get this position higher than Brahma. Tvam praptawan deva munindra gunya. This prayer actually recited by Dhruva after Lord Narayan appeared in the front of him. Tvam praptawan deva munindra gunyam. You are very difficult to obtain by the Deva, great demigods, the Muni, Indra, even the king of the demigods. It's very difficult to obtain. You are very difficult to obtain by this great personality. But now I get you. Tvam praptawan deva munindra gunyam. Kachan vichinvam apidivyaratnam swamin pitatus nivalam priyam. So he said that Kacham which in one Apidivyaratna. Now Divyaratna means now I already get this crown of jewels, which is you, oh my Lord. And I am regretting that why I asked this material desire, which is considered to be Kacha. Kacha means broken pieces of glass in the street. It looks like a diamond from far. If you see during the day, if any broken piece of glass far away, when the sun comes, from far it's shining like diamond. But if you go closer, it's just garbage. So Dhruva Maharaj, comparing that material desire to have greater kingdom than Lord Brahma, is just like garbage. Now he's regretting. So see what happened here. He's an Artha Arti. He's desiring wealth. But there are very important principles here in the pastime of Dhruva, being an Artha Arti or Sakama devotee. Yeah, Sakama devotee, Dhruva Maharaj. There are two things happening when we approach Krishna with material desire. One, Krishna will fulfill that desire more than what we expected. So what Dhruva gets, he gets not only the kingdom greater than Brahma, but he gets its own planet, and that planet considered to be Vaikuntha, because that planet, Dhruva planet, will not be destroyed at the time of annihilation. Yeah. First, that happened. Krishna will fulfill our material desire more than what we expected. Second, we will regret. So be careful when we have material desire and approaching Krishna. We will regret. Ultimately, we will regret. Yeah. Maybe this has happened in our life. It's not just a philosophy or what. It's really truly happened. If you approach Krishna with some material desire, one day you will regret. Yeah. One day you will regret. I I can share my own experience. Like when I was in Brahmachari ashram for 7 years. So I was in saffron dress, but my mind was constantly disturbed. And I was praying to Krishna. Okay, if I have to get married, let me get married with a very beautiful woman like this. I was praying like that. And then yeah, in 2007, I got married to one Western devotee. I mean, that was like okay, she's beautiful, this and that. But then I flash back, oh, if I would still brahmachari, I could still travel with my Guru Maharaj. I would, travel a lot. I love to travel, this and that. I mean, my life is not so bad at the moment. Like I'm happy to get married. I have 2 kids, but compare when I was brahmachari, like I was so free, no anxiety, like in terms of my traveling ticket or my prasadam, my accommodation, and I can be anywhere with my Guru Maharaj. But now being a grihasta, so I'm restricted. I got many invitations for Janmashtami. I was invited to Chandigarh. I went once to Chandigarh for Janmashtami 2 years ago, but because like Janmashtami, I have son, and also just few days ago my wife delivered our second child. I got a daughter also, so I have to be at home all the time because well, if I have like big family, this is the most of the mistake in the modern civilization. Family means only you, your wife or husband, and your kids. That's it. But my family in Indonesia, in the village, like we have like cousins, sister, and in-laws, this and that. We are together. Uh, I remember when my mother delivered my younger brother, so there was no difficulties at all. The whole villages would come every single day to help, and my mother just relaxed, and my father just go for work, so free. But here I am, like I have only myself and my wife, and I have to be here. I mean, in terms of that part, being so much restricted. So comparing with my life when I was brahmachari, like so much different, so much fun, I would say. But I mean, I'm not regretting. Well, my wife is listening. I'm not regretting, but that's the difference. You will regret if you have material desire and you ask Krishna, because Krishna will fulfill it, and you will regret. You will think that that material desire is not. So be careful. But one thing I would say that there's nothing wrong in approaching Krishna with material desire. Yeah. Akama sarvakama muksakama udara vidhi tivrina bhakti yogena yajeta purusham. Just approach Krishna. He will fulfill that desire, provided tivrina bhakti means you have to perform this bhakti with tivrina means intensity. Yeah. He will fulfill, but you will regret. But ultimately, you will be purified. That's principle. And then the fourth one is that a jnani. The 4 Kumaras are examples of this type of pious soul. Yeah. We see in the life of the Chatu Kumara, in the beginning, they are not pure devotees. They are Brahmavadis. Yeah. They have no material desire. Thank you. Okay. My electricity is gone here. So luckily I'm using two devices, but I'm still connected at the moment, but I cannot show you the PowerPoint presentation. So that's fine. Just give me a second. Yeah. I'm just want to connect my computer with my hotspot. Please bear with me for a few minutes. Krishna. So while waiting for this, I was saying that the Chatukumaras, they are not pure devotees in the beginning. Of course, they are completely free from material desire, but they have this conception in their mind that actually uh, God is impersonal. Yeah, that's why they are called Brahmavadis. So their realization is up to the Brahman realization. Yeah. But of course, we find also how they become pure devotee. Yeah, Tasya Ravinda Nayanasya Pada Ravinda Kinjal Kamishra Tulasima Karandavai. So simply by smelling the aroma of tulsi leaf offered at the lotus feet of Lord Narayan, so their body and mind completely change, and then they develop desire to go to Vaikuntha to meet the Lord. Yeah. All right. So these are the four types of Sukritinaha, those who are pious, who approach Krishna. Okay. And then we continue. Krishna further explained, of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is best. Jnani means those who are wise. For I'm very dear to him and he's dear to me. So this is the qualification. We want to be dear to the Lord. Yeah. We have to be always engaged in the pure devotional service. Prabhupada explained, but out of them, he who is in knowledge of the absolute truth and free from all material desires becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. By searching after knowledge, one realizes that his self is different from his material body. And when further advanced, he comes to the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. And when one is fully purified, he realizes that his constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of God. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining here about the how the journey of the spiritual searcher. Yeah, Prabhupada said that because there are three levels of realization of the absolute truth. Yeah, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. So one can gradually, step by step, obtaining that level and ultimately to the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord. So by association with pure devotees, the distress, the seeker after material amelioration, and the man in knowledge all become themselves pure. But in the preparatory stage, the man who is in full knowledge of the Supreme Lord and is at the same time executing devotional service is very dear to the Lord. Yeah, amongst these four types of people, the Gyanis is considered to be the best. Yeah, because they have no more material desires. That's the reason. Yeah. Just like when you developing a friendship with a person, when you developing friendship with a friend, you know, if you just make friendship with your friend without any motivation, you know, because you like him, so your friend would reciprocate in the same way. But if you making some friendship with somebody, but you want his money, this and that, you know, he may get annoyed. Of course, he will remain your friend, but he may sometimes get annoyed. So similarly, Krishna also like that. If we have material desire, we approach Krishna still, Krishna will appreciate that. Even without material desire, the point is that you are approaching Krishna. Krishna still remain pleased with that. But if you approach Krishna without material desire, now that's another level. Krishna would become like much more pleased. Oh, he just approached me out of love. That's it. That's the material desire. He's not nagging on me. It is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that actually Krishna is much more pleased when the gopis chastise him compared to the prayers offered by the demigods. Because when the gopis chastise Krishna, like, oh, you are so naughty, you are stealing our butter, this and that, you know, you are releasing the calf, and then now the milk is finished. Actually, Krishna enjoying that so much because that chastise is out of love, out of love. And when the demigod offer the prayers, like, oh, you are the creator, the maintainer, the annihilator, blah, 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 and so on. And by the end of the prayer, the demigod said, please now kindly protect us from this demon. That means they have some material motivation behind it. That's why the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam explained that Krishna much more pleased when the gopis chastise him, rather than when the demigod offer prayers. But still, you know, demigods are great devotees of the Lord also, the administrators of the universe. Still, Krishna is pleased. Yeah. Text 18. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he, you see, like even the materialistic devotees, Krishna says undoubtedly magnanimous souls. Because why magnanimous? Because still they surrender to Krishna compared to the non-devotees, compared to the Diskritinaha. They don't surrender to Krishna. They don't surrender to Krishna at all. But he, Krishna says still, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Krishna says here, Atma Maya, just like my own self. Being engaged in the transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Prabhupada said, it is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. Because sometimes we may think like that, oh, I'm not so conversant of the Gita or Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, this and that. Sometimes we feel discouraged. Srila Prabhupada is giving us encouragement here. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. Still, devotees are devotees and they are very dear to Krishna. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit. And when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. So that's clear. And finally, text number 19. Yeah. Bahunam janmanam ante. This is also classic. Janavan mam prapadyante vasudeva sarvam iti samahatma sudurlava. So please note that this verse is talking about the jnani or the impersonalists. Impersonalists in the category of they are very sincere seeker. Yeah. There are some Mayavadis who is very staunch, staunch Mayavadis. They will not change their mindset. But there are some Mayavadis, if they are sincere enough to inquire about the absolute truth, they want to know about the absolute truth further. So ultimately, they will come to the level of Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. That means Vasudeva is everything, all in all. Is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator. Yeah. But how long they will take? Bahunam Janmanam. Means after many, many lifetimes. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Yeah. Similarly, Krishna mentioned in the beginning of the seventh chapter of this chapter, right, where Krishna mentioned Manushyanam Sahasreshu. Yeah, out of many men, Kasiyathat Sidaye, some maybe attain perfection. So in our previous class, I was explaining what perfection means. When you understand about Atma Tattva Gyan or self-realization is perfection. But that self-realization, if simply up to the understanding that Aham Brahmasmi, no more further understanding. So that's considered to be half self-realization, because you don't realize your Sambandha Tattva Gyan with Krishna, where you come from and what you're supposed to do. This is not there in the life of the Mayavadis. The Mayavadis, they absolutely, completely understand that they are not the body. But that realization is incomplete until they understand that, yes, they are coming from Krishna and they have to surrender to Krishna. So for those who are sincere Mayavadis, searching for the absolute truth, they will come to this platform. But after millions of lifetimes, Bahunam Janmanam. Ante means at the end, finally. Finally, when just like when we want something happen, and when it's happened, so we say, yeah, finally. So similarly, this Mayavadi is also, yes, finally. But after millions of lifetimes. And still Krishna says that Samahatma. And these people are so great. Samahatma, Sudurlabha. This great soul is very rare. Yeah, very rare. Very rare people would surrender to Krishna. At one time, no electricity means no fan. Like so hot. So one time, Srila Prabhupada was asked by a reporter. Yeah. So right there when Srila Prabhupada arrived in the airport, one reporter just came and asked, like, Swamiji, if you think that your movement is so important, why you have very less follower? Now this is like still in the beginning stage. First, actually, this reporter asked, like, Swamiji, you are traveling a lot. Did you find any difficulties while traveling in this age? Prabhupada said, we don't have difficulties. We don't have problems. You have the problem. And then this reporter asked, okay, Swamiji, if you think that your movement is so important, why you have less follower? And Prabhupada said, because we have these 4 rules and regulations. And he mentioned the 4 regulations, no meditating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. And he just, completely shut off, cannot say anything. Prabhupada said, diamond is very expensive. Only few people can buy it. Yeah. So those who surrender to Krishna is very rare. It's very, very rare. Okay. Out of the 7 billion human being now on the earth planet, how many souls surrender to Krishna? So it's very rare. Narayana Parasavi. What is that verse? Muktana ma pisidanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prashantatma kotiswapi maha. Even amongst those who are get liberation, mukti, still very few of them will surrender to Krishna, Lord Narayana. Prabhupada said, in the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life and that these activities constitute devotional service. The Mayavadis, when they enter the Brahma Jyotis, so how they come back? Because there's no activities. Just like when you are, being alone inside your room and do nothing, how long you can do nothing? Because the very nature of the soul is being active. We need some activities. So sooner or later, you have to, open the door and come out again. So yes, sometimes you need time of being alone. Sometimes you just decide, okay, I just want to be alone, don't disturb me. But how long you can be alone in your room without doing anything? So you have to come out again. So that's the position of the Mayavadi. You don't talk to anybody. No, never, nothing. If you're happy, for example, if you just buy a new car, but there's no people around, so what is the use of this car? You cannot show off. At least you have to have never. I was seeing one advertisement, really big, what do you call this, uh, banner on the street, really big street, about car, a new car. And it's written there, and yeah, billboard, thank you. And it's written there that get this new car and enjoy the envy in your neighbor's eyes. The point is that if you are happy, you have to share this happiness, or at least make others envious of you. But the Mayavadi cannot do that, because in Brahma Jyoti you just be alone. Be alone. You cannot share or make others envious of you. So you have to come out, come down again. Yeah. All right. So this is actually, if you have also this book by His Grace Burijan Prabhu, it's good, the Surrender Unto Me. I just put this quote here because I found it interesting. Yeah, Prabhu mentioned Bhakti is rare even among Gyanis, Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha, and its development usually takes a long time. Bahunam Janmanam Anti. Association with pure devotees quickens the process, because by association one hears and chants about Krishna. The subject of the first part of this chapter, Yatatrinum, whose glories are the essence of transcendental knowledge. One thus understands that Vasudeva Krishna is everything. Vasudeva Saram it. So I found interesting in so far of our session today that both Srila Prabhupada and even Burijan Prabhu mentioned that association of devotees is the essence. Yeah. Association. How many times we read Prabhupada's purport mentioning association, association, association. Yeah. In the 8th chapter, we'll see something interesting also. Srila Prabhupada will mention one thing throughout his purport, one after another, similar thing. We'll see that later. Yeah. But in this chapter, Prabhupada said hearing, association, because in the association of devotees, we can hear Krishna Katha. We have kirtan. Yeah. We have kirtan. We have this Krishna Katha. We get prasadam, when I came to India, I remember again, I went to Udupi, I went to Udupi, and I know nobody. I'm just new, first time in India, I know nobody. And finally I went to Samyatra, to Pajakakshetra, and then I came back to one place called Manipal near Udupi. So there I just stay in one hostel, student hostels, devotees. And then one devotee said, Prabhu, you don't worry. As long as you are with devotees, everything will be taken care. Your prasadam will be taken care. So I was feeling like relief, yeah, I was, guaranteed, my life is guaranteed, no anxieties anymore. As long as you are with devotees, this devotee told. So yeah, devotees, especially with hearing, because hearing Krishna Katha is so glorious. Yeah. Yat sangalabdham nijavirya vaibhavam tirtha muhu samsprishatam himanasam harat yajonta srutibir gato gajam ko vaina sevetam kundavikam. Last part of the verse mentioning that. Ko vaina sevetam. Who is that person who will not associate with a devotee who always carry Lord Mukunda in their heart? Yeah, yat sangalabdham nijavirya vaibhavam tirtha muhu. Muhu means again and again and again and again. So how many times you go for pilgrims to holy places? Even millions of times, cannot be compared by the association of devotees. Srutibir gato angajam, because in the association of devotees, you get to hear the narration of Lord Mukunda who can give liberation. Yeah. Because the body of the devotee itself is considered to be a holy place. Yeah. Bhavadvida Bhagavata Tirtha Bhuta Swayam Vibhu Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani Swanta Sena Gadavita. Because the body of the devotee is always engaged in the service of Lord. So Tirthi Kurvanti Tirthani, wherever he walks, that place will become a holy place. Yeah, this is the statement of Yudhishthira Maharaj glorifying Mahatma Vidura in the third canto. I think that's in the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, after Mahatma Vidura was kicked out from Hastinapur, he went for pilgrimage. He met Uddhava and he met what's that Muni? I forgot.
Maitreya.
Yeah, yeah. And then when he came back after the war, so Yudhishthira Maharaj glorified. Yeah, Maitreya. He met Maitreya Muni. He glorified. Wherever you go, that place becomes holy place. Yeah, because he completely engages himself in the service of God. So that's the importance of association of devotees, because we get to hear Krishna Katha. Yeah? So we have to continue our discussion. Before that, this is a quotation from Srila Prabhupada's lecture. Now, this research work about the science of God has to be prosecuted for several births after birth. Bahunam Janmanamante. After many births, God realization. It is very easy, but at the same time, it is very difficult. Prabhupada said it is easy, but at the same time, very difficult. Easy for them who accept it as truth, and those who are trying to understand by dint of his knowledge, advancement of knowledge, he has to create his faith after he finishes his research work. Then that takes many, many births. So easy if you just accept. But if you want to do some research, still you will come to the conclusion that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but after many lifetimes. Yeah, easy if you accept Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but difficult in the sense of if you want to prove it, just prove it, but it takes a lot of time. All right, up to this point, whether any question or comment before we move to the next discussion about demigod worships and impersonalism. Okay, great. So now from text 20 to 25, yeah, Krishna is comparing about the demigod worshippers and also the impersonalists whose surrender is misplaced. Yeah, because we have discussed there are two types of people: Sukritinaha and Duskritina. Sorry, Duskritina and Sukritina. Duskritina, those who don't surrender. Sukritina, those who surrender. But there are some people who misplace their surrender, not to Krishna, and that is the demigod worshippers and the impersonalists. So this is the continuation of Krishna's explanation about the Sukriti. Verses 20 to 23 describe less intelligent persons who worship demigods for material gain, and 24 to 20 and 25 describe the impersonalists who surrender to the formless aspect of Krishna. They cannot see Krishna, who covers himself from their vision. Text 20. Kamai sarita jnana prapadyante nyadevataha tamtam niyamamastaya prakritya niyatasvaya. So I highlighted the word hrita jnana. Jnana means you lost your intelligence. Yeah? Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires, kama, surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulation of worship according to their own natures. Like these demons, they are approaching different demigods like Shiva, Brahma, like this for just material gain. So they are considered to be Harita Jnana. Jnana means their Gyan, their knowledge is stolen by their material desire. Come on. Prabhupada explained, as long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature because of approaching the right goal. They very soon become free from all material lust. A pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. See, that is the nature of the pure devotee. Well, in general, that is the nature of devotee. If you have material desire, you just approach Krishna. You don't have to approach demigods. And a pure devotee would always being satisfied with whatever Krishna gives, whatever Krishna provides. Sometimes we have some desires, we ask Krishna. Sometimes Krishna doesn't fulfill that desire. Sometimes he doesn't fulfill that desire. You remember this verse later in the 9th chapter, we will find Ananya Chintayantomam Yajana Paryupasati. Krishna says, Tesam Nitya Vyuktanam Yoga Ksemam Vahamya. Whatever he needs, I will provide. Whatever he has, I will preserve. But we have to make a clear understanding here. What you need and what you want, they are different. What you need will be fulfilled by Krishna, for sure. But what you want sometimes is not fulfilled by Krishna. Because first we have to deserve and then desire. First deserve and then desire. So a pure devotee will always satisfy with whatever Krishna provides. In fact, Narad Muni mentioned in the last chapter of the first canto of Bhagavatam mentioned that Dayaya Sarvabhutanam Santustya Yena Kenava Sarvendriyo Pasantyacha Tusyati Asu Janardan. How to please Lord Janardan, Lord Krishna, by three things. First, Dayaya Sarvabhutanam, be merciful to all living entities. And then Santustya Yena Kenava, and be satisfied with whatever provided by Krishna. And then the third one, Sarvendriyo Pasantyacha, and be sense control. We have to control our senses. So these three ways, Narad Muni says, that will please the Lord to the topmost. So be satisfied. Sometimes we are complaining so much in our life. Oh, this is not there, this is not there, I want this. But if we don't deserve, so it will not be fulfilled. Text 21. I am in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigods, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. When first time I read this verse, honestly, I was like thinking like this, why Krishna give the faith to the people to worship the demigods? Why Krishna doesn't just give faith to worship him, to surrender to him? So the whole world is, flourishing nicely. But why Krishna is still giving the faith to the people who wants to worship particular demigods? That was my question when I just read this verse for the first time. And that's question for all of us here. Anybody would like to give their opinion? Why Krishna gives the faith to the demigod worshipper to worship that particular demigod? Right? You can raise your hands before giving your opinion. So here Brajanath Prabhu mentions so that somehow or other they would finally come to him. Yeah, somehow or other they would finally come to him. Yeah, that's a good reason. Varaha, this is yes, Hare Krishna.
So Prabhuji, I think it is because Krishna does not want to interfere with the minute independence which we have got. And, because if Krishna says, you have to worship only me, then it means the Jiva is not worshipping Krishna from his heart. So that is why, he confirms that, and he makes the faith more powerful that, yes, you can worship the demigods. Thank you,
Right.
Prabhuji.
Nice answer. Yeah. Another opinion from Murari Madhava Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, when one lecture of Srila Prabhupada I was hearing, that Srila Prabhupada mentions why there is worship of different demigods and all others in the Vedic culture, because the people they are created with the different gunas like tamo guna, rajo guna, sattva guna, and to keep all these people of different gunas within the Vedic culture. So these things, the demigod worship, and even also the evil spirit worship, and all these are all there. So this is as per the Vedic culture to keep all of them within the circumference of the religion culture. So I heard once from one of the lecture of Srila Prabhupada. So thank
Very
you.
nice. Yeah, very nice. Yes. Thank you so much for your responses. So yes, ultimately they will come to Krishna. How? Because while worshipping demigods, they would chant this some mantras, which is actually starting with Om. The Vedic mantra started with Om, and that Om is actually the impersonal form of Krishna. So in one way, they try to address Krishna, and ultimately they will come to Krishna. And of course, Krishna also doesn't want to interfere with the minute independency, because love means you don't force somebody to love you. Love means voluntarily. So Krishna wants you to love him voluntarily, not by force. Yeah. And as Prabhu mentioned also, that in order to keep us within the circle of Vedic culture, yeah, civilized. This is civilization. Vedic culture is civilization. Yeah, very nice. And one more, Amrita Lila Mataji. Yes, please.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Actually, depending upon the level of understanding of devotees or people, they approach different demigods, but somehow or other, as Krishna mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, whomever you will be offering, the end offering is going to Vishnu, Narayan, or Krishna. But yeah, the highest perfection and the highest level is approaching him, but it's not easy. Slowly with different yoga, if it can, someone can reach to bhakti yoga, that's okay. Like that's the ultimate path.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, wonderful. Yes. Depending on the different level of one's consciousness. Like some question may raise why there are many religions. Yeah. Why there are many religions like Hindu, Muslim, Christianity, this and that. Of course, in the Vedic Shastra, there's no word Hindu. But well, people call it like that. Of course, different consciousness of people, so they have to adjust accordingly, like different grade of school. Yeah, you cannot jump directly to university, right? You have to start from the first grade, second grade, things like that. And also worshiping the demigods, because demigods are actually devotees of Lord. So actually, even Krishna mentioned that actually they want to worship me, but because they have no clear idea, then they are worshiping the demigod, in which actually they are indirectly worshiping. So it is will be described here that actually when people offer something to demigod, so demigod will offer that to Krishna, and Krishna will give the sanction for this demigod to bless or to give boon to their devotees. Without the sanction from the Lord, actually the demigods also cannot give boon to their devotees. So that's like indirect worship to Krishna. It's worshiping the demigods, but that's like really slow process before you really, reaching that highest goal. Yeah. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Sorry, Prabhuji, another question related to here, like whatever you are offering to demigods, that is reaching to Krishna. But it clicked to my mind, whatever we normally offer in our day-to-day life, even a bhoga, it goes through Guru Parampara.
Right.
So what the difference between, offering, going through Guru Parampara and offering going through demigods?
Yeah. So the consciousness is different. We as devotees also, some devotees worship demigod. Even Rupa Goswami mentioned, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, we as devotees, we have to worship Ganesh. Yeah. But the consciousness is different. When we devotees worship demigods, yeah, here in Mayapur, we worship Lord Shiva also. We have Lord Shiva in Yoga Pit, we have Lord Shiva in Rajapur, in Jagannath Mandir. We worship. But the consciousness is that this Lord Shiva, this demigod, is the Param Vaishnava, is the topmost devotee, and we consider him as our guru. We worship him to ask his blessing in order to, bless us to become nice devotee of Lord Krishna. But the demigod worshippers in general, when they worship demigods, they just want some material gain. That is the consciousness. We worship the demigods, putting them in the position of our gurus, ask their blessings. Like Ganesh is able to destroy all the obstacles in our part of devotional service. Yeah, what is that verse from the Brahma Samhita? Yatpada Palava, Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha, Dvandwe Pranama, Samaye Saganani Raja, Vignan Vihantum, Alamasha Jagat Trayasya, Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Vajami. So Ganesh, being a demigod who is always taking shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, in particular Lord Nrsimhadev, who is the Sarva Vigna Vinasha, so he's also able to destroy, all these difficulties in our past in devotional service. That's why Rupa Goswami recommend us to worship Ganesh also. Yeah, but our consciousness is different. We worship Ganesh, we worship Shiva, not with the consciousness of we wanting some material gain. No. But the demigod worshippers in general, they worship the demigods with some material gain. Yeah, so that's the difference.
Yeah, got it. Thank you so much. So the main
Right.
difference is with some desire and here selfless offering or selfless. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And here Ramakrishna Prabhu mentioned, whosoever you worship, ultimately it reaches Lord, like watering the roots. Of course, like worshiping demigods, like watering the leaves. But ultimately, that's nice verse actually mentioned by Narad Muni in the Bhagavatam. Yatha tarar mula nisechanena tipyanti tat skanda ujupasakaha. Prano paharachayatindriyanam tataiva sarvar hanamachuteja. So there are two things mentioned, two examples mentioned. By watering the root and by feeding the stomach. So by worshipping Krishna, the whole world is satisfied, the whole demigod is satisfied. But if you just water the leaves separately, or the branches, skanda, the branches, or feeding the indriya separately, that doesn't really make sense. For example, if you want some food, when you're hungry, the body becomes weak sometimes. Sometimes you cannot even walk or move your bodily limbs like hand. But if your hand becomes so selfish, you want to chew this food. This is food. You want to chew it. That doesn't make sense. So this hand should put the food in the mouth and transfer to the stomach, and then all the nourishment will be delivered in all the parts of the body, including the hands. Yeah. So you cannot satisfy this hand simply by feeding the hand itself. So you have to feed the stomach. So that's demigod worship. If you just water the leaves separately. So like that. Thank you. That's wonderful discussion. Yeah, it's already being discussed. Yeah. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to living entities for enjoying this material world, and so let them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning of independence. Okay? Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes, but his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita: one should give up all other engagements and fully surrender to him. That will make man happy. That's Sarva Dharman. Okay, independence. Then next one, endowed with such faith, she endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains desires. But in actuality, by me alone, without Krishna's sanction, demigods cannot award the boon. Yeah. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. Another quote from Surrender unto me: the fruits that demigods offer their worshippers are ultimately awarded by Krishna. Even the faith that demigod worshippers possess is given by Krishna and not by the demigods. Although all is ultimately given by Krishna, still, because demigod worshippers have not directly approached Krishna, they cannot be delivered. So that's the key point here. We may put another argument that, okay, Prabhuji, you mentioned that demigod worshipper also indirectly worshiping Krishna. Can they also consider to be devotees? Well, not really, because they still not, having this consciousness that Krishna is the topmost and directly approaching Krishna in the sense of worshiping Krishna directly through the Guru Parampara system, of course. Yeah, but they cannot be in the category of devotees until they have that clear understanding, although they are worshiping Krishna indirectly. 23. This is the result of the demigod worshippers. The result. Antavatu palam tesam tadbhavatya alpamedasam devan deva yajuyanti madbhakta yanti mam api. So I highlighted this point. Antavatu palam means limited and temporary. Man of small intelligence. Alpamedasam. Alpamedasam means small intelligence. Yeah. There's the verse from the Bhagavatam mentioning Sumedasaha. Yeah. Krishna Varnam Krishna Krishna, that verse. Sumedasaha. Medasa means intelligent. Sumedasaha means so much intelligent, very intelligent. But here Alpamedasa means less intelligent. Yeah. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Yeah. Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamati. This part of the verse, Devandeva Yanti Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamati. Similar to the verse in the 9th chapter, later we'll see that Yanti Deva Brata Devan Pitrin Yanti Pitri Brata. So according to the mode of our worship, so that's our destination. Prabhupada mentioned here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they don't know to what part of the body food must be supplied. We already discussed. And then, after describing about the demigod worshippers and their result, now in this verse, Krishna is explaining about the Mayavadi, impersonalist. Yeah, but he says, Avyaktam Vyakim Apanam Manyantimam Abhudayaha. This word Abhudaya is very significant. Param Bhava Majananto Mamavyaya Manutama. Unintelligent man. Abhuddhaya. Buddha means intelligence. Abhuddha means no intelligence. Yeah. Krishna mentioned unintelligent man who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Yeah, avyaktam, vyaktim means avyaktam, no form, and then vyaktim, now I get the form. So this is how the impersonalists think. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature. Yeah, param bhavam, ajanantu. Ajana means they don't know, which is imperishable and supreme. Yeah. The word abhudaya means less intelligent person. This is how Krishna described the impersonalist as less intelligent person. Prabhupada said, those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yeah. So their logic is that because they cannot see God, that means God is impersonal. Yeah. So we also can argue you cannot see air. Does it mean that air is not existing? Easy actually to defeat their arguments, because with our material contaminated eyes, we cannot see God. Yeah. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochana. First, we have to smear our eyes with love, with bhakti. Then we can see God. Yeah. We cannot see God with these material eyes. Doesn't mean that if I cannot see the president right now, that means the president is not existing. So it doesn't make sense at all. We cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statement of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. So God cannot be impersonal. No. By seeing this gigantic material creation, if there is creation, there must be a creator. How a person create? Using hands, right? Using hands. Well, in the case of Lord Krishna, using his desire, that's enough. Using his desire, that's enough. And yeah, like even Prabhupada mentioned that it is actually not at all possible to meditate on the something void. Not at all possible to meditate on something void, because the nature of the mind will always capture some picture. Even the even the impersonalists, when they do their puja, their worship, they use these 5 deities. Yeah, Vishnu, Lakshmi, Durga, Ganesh, and Shiva. But of course, their theory saying that ultimately this is just the bridge by which we will attain that ultimate goal, which is the impersonal aspect of God. So there is Sadguna and Nirguna. Yeah. So Sadguna means has form, Nirguna means no form. But our Vaishnava acharyas explain that the word Nirguna is also applicable in the sense of the Lord doesn't have material form. He has form, but not material form. Yeah. You say that Nirguna, that's fine, means no form. But what does it mean? No material form. That's it. Even when the Muslims pray like Allahu Akbar, means God is great. So great means has form. Great means he has done something. Yeah. How great is he? That's matter. Simply knowing that God is great is not enough unless we know how he is great. And here, Krishna explained that he doesn't reveal himself to everyone, yeah, in particular to the less intelligent person, because he's covered by his energy. Yeah. Naham prakasa sarvasya yoga maya samavrita udhoyam na vijanati lokomam ajam agiram. I am never manifest to the foolish and intelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and inexhaustible. It may be argued that since Krishna was visible to everyone when he was present on this earth, how can it be said that he is not manifest to everyone? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present there, there were only a few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, manifest means understanding Krishna's position. Yeah. Krishna manifests in the eyes of all the Kauravas, Duryodhana, Shakuni, this and that, many demons. Krishna manifests. But what Krishna meant here by Naham Prakash, I'm not manifest. What Krishna meant by that is that they don't understand Krishna's position. Krishna Tattva Gyan, they don't understand. Although Duryodhana could see Krishna, he could not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. Even when Krishna came as messenger on behalf of the Pandavas, when before the war, he was requesting the 5 villages. Actually, Krishna in the front of Duryodhana was manifesting his partial Virat Rupa. Even after manifesting this form, universal form, Duryodhana still not believing that he is God. Rather, Duryodhana asked, catch Krishna, tie him. But how it is possible to catch Krishna? Krishna easily defeating all of them. So manifesting means understanding Krishna's position. Yeah. One time I was traveling to one place called Chirala, near Vijayawada, South India. So I went to Chirala and in the local train, so I was, like, okay, waiting for the train to arrive. So I just picked the Bhagavad Gita and I was reading. And then there was one man who was asking me, what book you are reading? Of course, he's asking me in Telugu, something like that. I said, I don't understand Telugu, I don't understand Hindi. And he asked me where I'm from. I said, I'm from Indonesia, this and that. And he's asking, what are you reading? I said, I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita. And then we talk a little bit. And somehow I asked him, so, you know Krishna? And he said, yes, I know Krishna. And I asked him, so who is Krishna? And he said, Krishna is a hero. I said, of course, Krishna is a hero. And what else you know about Krishna? Krishna is a hero. He's a great philosopher. Yeah. Said like this. But when I say, what do you think if I say Krishna is God? Well, how can God take birth like us? He said. Krishna has his father and mother. So I stopped the discussion, otherwise he could not take it. His consciousness still not on that level. So I thought, okay, just stop the conversation. So that's like, especially here in India, like almost everybody knows Krishna. Krishna, yes, Krishna. When I was in Cambodia also, I was doing the Sankirtan and I met one gentleman, Indian gentleman. Whenever I distribute books, I always thought like this. Whenever I met Indian, sorry to say, whenever I met Indian outside India, when I was in Cambodia, I would prefer to avoid them, not to, have a look to this book like that. Because I know the answer. They will say, oh, I know Krishna. And I always get this answer, I know Krishna. But what is interesting, if you happen to get some time, I would recommend you to visit Cambodia at least once in your lifetime to see the biggest Krishna temple in the world, the Angkor Wat. But of course, at that place now no more puja going on, nothing. It's just a tourist place, basically tourist place. So, and you will find in the town Cambodian food. You know what is their food? All types of fried insects, like snake, like bees, worm, scorpion, this and that. They fried and they eat. So this Indian gentleman, he's a Brahmana. He has a thread. He showed me his thread actually. So when I approach him finally, and then I give the book. He said, "Oh, I know Krishna. Actually, I'm from Delhi, so I visited also ISKCON. Every Janmashtami I visited ISKCON temple." So, oh, that's great, sir. At least every Janmashtami you visited ISKCON temple. Okay, the point here is that in India, everybody knows Krishna. Means they know this Krishna, the blue boy with the peacock feather with the flute. Yeah, but they don't know Krishna Tattva. That's the thing. Many of us, they don't know Krishna Tattva. So in that sense, Krishna is unmanifest. When you don't understand Krishna Tattva, you don't understand Krishna's position, that means you don't understand Krishna in truth. Krishna is covered by his potency. Yogamaya Samavita. So up to that point, Krishna already explained about demigod worshippers and also impersonalists. And the last part of our discussion is that bewilderment of the living entity and knowledge of Krishna. So we are all here bewildered, but how we can get rid of this inefficacy is by knowledge of Krishna. Krishna knows all and is thus different from these foolish living entities that are born into delusion and are bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. Pious persons, freed from dualities arising from delusion, engage in devotional service with determination and attain liberation. They have knowledge of Krishna as Adibhuta, Adidaiva, and Adijagya. Text 26. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani chabhutani mam vedana. Interesting here, Krishna says that I know everything, but mam vedana. No one knows me. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. And I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. Prabhupada mentioned, anyone with material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can he predict the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is happening in the past, present, and future. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, he cannot know past, present, and future. So great personalities such as Narad Muni, whose bodily form was actually completely spiritual. So they had this ability. Yeah, it is known as a Trikala Gyan, means the know past He knows past, present, and future. Three Kalagya. He's just like the sun. Prabhupada giving the analogies here. One of the reasons why we are studying the Bhaktivedanta purport is because Prabhupada's purport is rich of many interesting and wonderful analogies in which actually makes us understand the philosophy better and easier, yeah, through these analogies. Prabhupada gives this example. He's just like the sun and Maya is just like a cloud. In the material world, we can see that there is sun and that there are clouds and different stars and planets. The clouds may cover all this in the sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, and stars are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord. By his internal potency, he is not manifest to the less intelligent class of men. Yeah. So this covering of the cloud is just like the Yoga Maya potency of the Lord. But of course, Prabhupada said that actually cannot be covered because sun and other planets like moon, star, they are fixed in their position. But our limited vision, limited eyes, when the cloud is covering the sun, we may think that the sun doesn't exist. The sun doesn't exist. So that's Krishna Tattva. Not everybody can understand Krishna. Okay? And this is the reason, yeah, why we are here in the material world. Icha Dvesha, two words I highlighted here. Icha Dvesha Samutena Dvandva Mohena Bharata Sarva Bhutani Samaha Sarge Janti Parantapa. O sons of Bharata, O conqueror of the fool, all living entities are born into delusion. Yeah, Mohena, Dvandva means dualities, bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. So Icha and Dvesha. So this word Yanti, Yanti means destination. So we are destined here because of this bewilderment, being delusion. Yeah? Out of this two things, yeah, Icha and Dvesha, desires and hate. Yeah. So we are here, we come to the material world, and what's going on here? There is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, and plus three classes. So these are the main problems. There are 7 main problems. But actually, out of the 7, this 4 first is actually considered to be primary. Yeah. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. And then Adi Dayiga Klesa, Adi Bhuta Klesa, Adi Adhika Klesa. Prabhupada said, this is their misfortune. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in dualities of dishonor and honor, misery and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc., thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I'm the master of this house, I'm the husband of this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Text number 28. Yesam tu antagatam papam. So up to that point, text number 27, Krishna explains about the delusion of the living entities. We are bewildered, especially by the 3 modes, by our desires, by our envious nature. And now here Krishna is giving solution. How we can become a Dhrida Vrata, or a person who engaged in devotional service with fixed determination. Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva mohanir mukta bhajante mam Dhrida Vrata. The person who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, yeah, punya karmanam means pious, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated. Anta gatam papam. Anta means end. Like Veda anta. Vedanta means the conclusion, the end of the Veda. So anta gatam papam. whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Yeah, Giridhari, Bhajantimam Giridhari. Therefore, we are following these four regulative principles, chanting 16 rounds. That actually will help us to become a Giridhari, because we cannot perform sinful activities while chanting Hare Krishna with the expectation that I will become a nice devotee. Yeah. Prabhupada said, only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously, and who have conquered sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the path of spiritual platform. This elevation is possible. See, I highlight here. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees. Again, Prabhupada mentioned association here. For in the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. So we have a few minutes left. Just two more verses. Intelligent person, 29. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service, as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on the Brahman platform, and they know everything about transcendental activities. Only person who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam Ashvitya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman, because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. So Brahman means not simply understanding that I am Brahman, but also acting as how being a Brahman should be functioned. Yeah, that means should be acting in Krishna consciousness. The last verse, Sadi Bhuta Daivamam, Sadi Bhuta Di Daivamam, Sadi Yagyam Chau Ye Viduhu, Prayana Kale Chi, Prayana Kale Tichamam Te Vidu, Yukta Chetasah. Those who know me as the Supreme Lord, as the governing principle of the material manifestation, who know me as the one underlying all the demigods and as the one sustaining all sacrifices, can with steadfast mind understand and how me even and know me even at the time of death. See, so this is the last statement of Lord Krishna in this chapter. Those who know Krishna as the Adi Daiva, means the master of all the demigods, and then the Adi Jagya, first the Adi Bhuta, Adi Bhuta, the master of all living entities, and then the Adi Daiva, the master of all demigods, and then the Adi Yagya, the master of all sacrifice. Yeah. And then if one understand or remember Krishna at the time of death, that's most important. So the reason why we have to remember Krishna at the time of death will be explained in the next chapter, chapter 8. That's how the chapter continues. Actually, these three things in the first verse of chapter 8 will be asked by Arjun. What do you mean by Brahman? What is Brahman? What is karma? Even Arjuna asked, what is karma? Kim Brahma, Kim Adhyatma. What is Adhyatma? What is Adidaiva? What is Adibhuta? What is Adijagya? Arjun will ask that questions in the beginning of chapter. Yeah, Prabhupada explained here. This 7th chapter particularly explain how one can become a fully Krishna conscious person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness, and that it should be fully utilized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Okay? So this is our concluding slide for today's discussion. One who understands the science of Krishna consciousness, sa adi bhutam adi daivam. So even at the time of his death, he remains steady in that Krishna consciousness, and therefore his next birth is not in this material world, but in the spiritual world. Yeah. All right, before closing our discussion, just want to round up this chapter that in the beginning, Krishna glorifies his energy. Knowledge about Krishna means both knowledge about material world and spiritual world. And Krishna again will compare the material world and spiritual world in the next chapter. And then Krishna emphasized on Tachinu, means hear from me. Hearing is very important. And then Krishna explained about the modes of material nature, because we are here. The apara prakriti consists of the three modes of material nature, how it is very, very difficult to overcome, but by surrender to Krishna, we can overcome that tough opponent, I would say. Well, we should not make Krishna's energy as our opponent. But anyway, that's how we overcome Maya, by surrender to Krishna. And then Krishna explained about those who surrender and those who don't surrender. And amongst those who love to surrender, but they don't have the complete understanding about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they misplace their surrender to the demigods and the impersonal aspect of the Lord. And then Krishna further explained that the reason why we are here, because of this delusion of this Icha and Dvesha, material desire and hatred. And then Krishna give us the solution by having this knowledge about Krishna, that he is the master of all living entities, Adibhuta, the Adidaiva, he is the governing principle of all the demigods. That means the master of demigods, and Adijagya is the benefactor of all sacrifices. So when we have this knowledge, so we become naturally having this desire, developing this desire to surrender to Krishna. And Krishna mentioned, if one know me at the time of death, that would be glorious. And that will be discussed in the next chapter. All right, so I thank you very much. So we have finished. Thinking maybe in one meeting we can complete one chapter, but somehow or other we discuss it. But kindly tolerate me. Thank you so much.